Welcome to the Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Today, my guest is Gabriel Gaarden with another segment of Making Sense with Gabriel. Stick around. We'll be right back. Hi, Gabriel. How are you?
Doing great. How about you, Nancy?
Good. Thank you. Can we talk today about what are probiotics and prebiotics?
Awesome. Let's do it. In a recent episode, we discussed fiber, and fiber has a lot to do with probiotics and prebiotics. And many people, because it's a hot topic, probiotics, we consume things like yogurt and kimchi and sauerkraut because they're all touted as these probiotic rich foods. And that's to some extent true. They are fermented foods. And when we ferment things, we ferment them in a bacterial culture. And that bacteria is a probiotic. And so again, but the probiotics, and the part of our gut where we have and where we benefit from having probiotics is our large intestine. So if you go in the mouth, down the esophagus, into the stomach, then the stomach will empty the food into the small intestine. And the small intestine is the longest part of our gut. And that's where a lot of the breakdown, some of the breakdown happens in the stomach, and then much more of the breakdown and the actual digestion of the nutrients takes place. And then most of the absorption of those nutrients that we consume in food get broken down, digested, and then absorbed. And then our bodies are able to use those because they circulate throughout the bloodstream, and our cells will, take them out of the bloodstream, and they'll use them to do all the different processes they do to keep us alive and well. But then after the small intestine, we get to the large intestine. That's the final part. We get down to the rectum and the anus, where we're going to excrete our waste. And the large intestine is where all of our probiotics, or all of our gut bugs, or our microbiome. That's where our microbiome in our gut resides, the large intestine. So whenever we think about probiotics, we're thinking about, if we're consuming them, they're going to need to make their way all the way down through the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and down to the large intestine for them to actually do the good work that we want those probiotics to do to improve our digestive health. And so, yes, we can consume them in the form of pills. Yes, we can consume probiotics in the form of fermented foods. But the most important thing when it comes to improving the microbial diversity, because to have a healthy gut, we want to have a lot of microbial or bacterial diversity in our gut. We want lots of different species. And what you see in people who don't have healthy guts is they generally have a lot less diversity in their gut. And so that's something that we want to avoid. And I'll tell you that the most important way to maintain microbial diversity in your gut isn't going to be taking probiotic supplements, isn't going to be consuming foods that are rich in fermented, like I mentioned, the sauerkrauts and the kimchi and yogurt and things like that. Those are things that you can consume, and you will get probiotics from them. But the most important way to maintain microbial diversity and good gut health will be to consume a wide variety of different whole plant foods, because we only get fiber from plants. And the bacteria in our gut, in our microbiome, in the large intestine, they're picky eaters. And so every different type of bacteria likes to consume different types of fiber. Fiber is their food. We can't digest and absorb fiber, but the bacteria in our large intestine can. And it's important that they do, because they produce all these wonderful compounds. And a really important hot button one of those are called short chain fatty acids. And these compounds do wonderful things in our body, from reducing inflammation to helping curb our hunger so we don't overeat, to maintaining the integrity of the lining of the wall of our gut so that we don't get things like leaky gut syndrome. So these compounds are beautiful, and we luckily get them from our friends, our gut bugs produce them after they digest the fiber that we consume. But again, our gut bugs are picky. And so it's important that we eat lots of different types of plants, the fruits and vegetables and whole grains and legumes, which are different things like beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils, and nuts and seeds and mushrooms, which are fungi, or some people say fungi, and then herbs and spices. And from all those different whole plant foods, with all their different colors and shapes and forms and textures, they're all made up of different unique types of fiber. And so when you eat lots of different plants, you're getting lots of different types of fiber. And the different types of fiber are just like us when we say, oh, tonight I want Asian food, or tomorrow I want Indian food, or today I want something from Latin America, say Venezuelan food. And then on Friday, I'm going to have some standard New Mexico cuisine, lots of beans and rice and green chili. And so all those different types of cuisines and all the different types of foods that you'll find in those cuisines are going to give us different types of fiber. And our gut bugs are the same way. They want lots of different types of fiber because that's going to allow all these different types of bacteria to maintain good integrity and have healthy populations inside of our gut. They're going to help us break down those different types of fibers. And then as a result, they're going to produce all these beneficial compounds that help to promote good health in our gut. And then on a more broad spectrum, good health in our whole entire body. And so boom, if you want to have good probiotic diversity in your gut, eat lots of different types of fiber that we only get from eating lots of different types of plants. And then the prebiotic piece, probiotics are the gut bugs. They're the microbiome. They're the different types of bacteria that we have in our gut. The prebiotics are the food that the probiotics need to eat to maintain their health and to maintain their populations inside of our gut. And so again, the fiber is the prebiotic. I didn't say that at the very beginning, but people will get it now. So to consume prebiotics, we just need to consume lots of different types of fiber. The prebiotics are the food that our gut bugs will eat to maintain their good health and then produce all these wonderful compounds like short chain fatty acids that help us stay healthy. So if we want to feed our probiotics, we got to give them food, and that comes in the form of fiber, which is the prebiotic. And again, like I said before, if you want to maintain good gut health, the answer isn't the quick fix of taking a probiotic supplement or eating one or two different kinds of foods that are fermented that may or may not have different types of probiotics or different types of bacteria in them. That's kind of a toss-up when you're relying on those things. You can do those things in certain cases, like where you're having some gut trouble. You might take a probiotic supplement like right after you've consumed a round of antibiotics because you were trying to get rid of some infection. So antibiotics have their place, but they will kill off because they're not good at differentiating between the infection that we have and some bad wound that we might have or some infection and the probiotics or the bacteria that we have in our gut. They're going to just kind of widespread kill lots of different types of bacteria in the body. So they'll have an impact on our gut health and on our gut microbiome. So we can consume a probiotic supplement right after we finish a round of antibiotics. But long term, the most important way to maintain good gut health and microbial diversity is, like I said before, consume lots of different types of fiber, and fiber only comes in by eating lots of different types of plants. So I hope that gives people some practical tools about knowing what prebiotics and probiotics are, and most importantly, how to maintain good gut health. It's not going to come in a fiber, or it's not going to come in a probiotic supplement or by occasionally eating some sauerkraut or some kimchi. It's going to come by eating lots of different types of plants.
Now, I heard somewhere, but is it true that sometimes when you take these supplements or try to get those probiotics in a kind of artificial kind of way, meaning not from plants, that you can mess up your gut health?
I don't know that a probiotic would mess up your gut health, but the most important thing that's going to mess up your gut health or will be consuming more of a standard American type diet that's low in fiber over the course of years and decades. And that's what most Americans have done. We eat lots of meat, dairy, and eggs, and other forms of ultra processed foods. If you look at our diet, more than 50% of it comes from ultra processed foods. And so ultra processed foods often are made from plants, but we process those plants in such a way that we take corn, for instance, and we make it into a Cheeto. Now, a Cheeto looks nothing like the corn that it started out as when it was growing, up from the ground and in that corn stalk. And we ultra process it to make it into a Cheeto or other types of ultra processed foods that are not good for our health in any way. And so We want to avoid the ultra processed foods because they're pretty much have no fiber in them, and they have very few of the nutrients and the beneficial compounds that we find in the whole plant foods after we've processed them and made them into these ultra palatable. They're hyper palatable, so they taste super good, and that's what keeps us coming back for more, but they don't support our health, especially in the long term. So as a result of eating ultra processed foods, lots of meat, dairy, and eggs, and very little whole plant foods, we get things like we lose overall gut health, and that's a term that's called gut dysbiosis, and that generally is just an unhealthy gut. And so the best way to reverse that is going to be consuming lots of different plants in their whole or minimally processed form. So again, a plant like it looks, more like it looks as it's growing in nature. So the apple, when it falls from the tree, it's going to be best if I eat the apple in a minimally processed form, like a whole apple, or maybe apple sauce, because that's just kind of grinding it up into a puree, but we're not adding lots of salt, oil, or sugar, different types of ingredients to it to adulterate it in a way that's going to make it less healthy for us, like we do when we make a Cheeto from corn. So eating those types of things is what is going to support our gut health and keep our bodies healthy over time. But I wouldn't think about people consuming a probiotic supplement as being a problem. But again, that's just going to be a quick fix or a short-term thing that's not going to promote good gut health in the long term. When we consume a probiotic supplement, most of those bacteria or those probiotics that we're consuming are going to go in one end. They may have some beneficial impact on the health of our large intestine. But again, most of them are going to be transient. And what that means is they're going to go in one end and they're going to go out the other when we poop the next day. And so if we want to change long-term the overall quality and diversity of our gut microbiome, we need to eat those different types of fiber, which our gut bugs eat, and then that helps them maintain these healthy populations inside of our gut. It all comes from the fiber because it has to be done in the food that we're consuming on a daily basis, not just a pill or not just a one-off kind of a thing.
Well, thank you again, Gabriel, for another informative segment of Making Sense with Gabriel. I just like saying that, Making Sense with Gabriel. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye. Until next time.
Thank you for joining us on another Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Please check out our website, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have a pulse, you have a purpose. Live vegan.